Welcome back, one and all. Today I have a computer I know almost nothing about. This is an MSX, Philips VG-8020. Now I came across this, in a local retro group. Someone just wanted it gone, and I said, if it's going in the bin, I'll absolutely have it. As far as I know, there's nothing wrong with it, but I don't think he had any cables for it. So I don't know the last time it was powered on. So I think the first step is to open the thing up and see what it looks like. But first impressions are, pretty cool. This keyboard looks great. Funky arrow keys. Striking design with this shiny black and silver. You've got in here the cartridge slots. I think these can be used for both kind of memory or software. Kind of interchangeable in terms of, is it RAM, is it ROM? Let's get it open, see if it looks too grotty inside or has any obvious problems before applying power to it. Whilst I work, let's go through what's in the video. I was expecting to have the usual of opening the thing up, playing around with it and just talking about what I found, but a weird thing happened where I got sucked into using BASIC to write code, and I rediscovered the joy of figuring something out instead of just copying it from the internet. So it's inspection first, then trying to get video output, and is it possible to get emulated cassette programs in? And then after none of the example programs I could find were much fun, learning BASIC from an old MSX manual. How about a bit of history? So I knew MSX as a Microsoft standard. It seems the idea was theirs, but it was a joint venture with ASCII Corporation of Japan. Yes, they're named after the tech standard and they publish software, so I guess it made sense to them to build an ecosystem of compatible computers. The MSX1 standard called for a Zilog Z80 CPU running at 3.58 MHz, minimum of 8 kilobytes of RAM, and standardized video and audio chips. You also got a 32 kilobyte ROM with the BIOS and MSX Basic. Of course, some models have more RAM and additional ROMs with more programs. For input and output, you had a port for cassette data, some sort of bus or cartridge connection, and ports for things like game controllers. The first MSX computer was the Mitsubishi ML8000 from October 83. That's almost 42 years ago now. Our example, the Philips VG-8020, first released in 85, had a number of models. This is the /20 model from 86. In pictures, it seems like the motherboard in the /20 is much smaller and simpler than earlier releases, so I reckon they managed to reduce the cost quite heavily. In fact, the second generation MSX standard, MSX2, was released in 1985, so I guess these machines were always intended to be at the lower end. Alright, back to the inspection. Okay, tops out. I think this is going to be a good opportunity to clean this as well. I mean, it's not terrible, but your usual keyboard grime is in here. Okay, so this is... Now you got a cable down here. I'm going to have to be careful with. So let's release this. Now, one thing I noticed was that on the back of this, there's, a UHF port, VHF port, whatever it is, that connects to the aerial, but it's plugged up. I thought, oh, on this model, I guess it doesn't even have the equipment. But you can see the box right here that does all of it. So why block it all up? Seems silly. Maybe I can pop that out, although as we will see later, I think I don't need it, so perhaps it's better to just stay in. Let's have a look under this keyboard. Okay, very carefully rotate this. Don't want to damage the ribbon cable because that is no doubt impossible to replace. There is a living spider in here. How long have you been in there? Oh, this is a weird clip. You can't see. Let's show. Okay, so there's another screwed on wire. Although I think that, yeah, that has a clip there. You need to do it from this side. I think you unclip this. Yep. Unclip this. That's actually kind of a good clip design. These can be so fiddly. Alright, that's off. Got this manufacturer, I guess, Noble. Nice symbol. Don't know what kind of keyboard it is. It feels like maybe it's actually got springs and things. Oh yeah, you can see them. Yes, you can see all the things are individually sprung. So I'm not sure if that's actually a full mechanical keyboard or just sprung but still using domes. So what's even inside one of these things? I know it's based on the Z80 and we have the Zilog CPU there. Got the internal power supply. I guess this is the transformer. Power comes in. This is probably also associated with that. You got a lot of fuses. And that one says 250 volts. So yes, power comes in here. This is a transformer. These are doing other things. Not sure how many voltages it runs on, but you've got 4 wires coming to the main board. Got a few of these little chips. Maybe they're RAM, don't know. It's actually quite an empty board, isn't it? Considering that this is a quite an old computer, you normally expect to see the thing just absolutely festooned with chips, but this is maybe it's like quite a cheap computer. And obviously the PCs we look at this similar sort of age were very expensive. You know, I think these were probably hundreds rather than thousands. So I suppose that's a pretty big difference. Now I believe these have custom kind of sound and video chips that help them, but I don't know very much about it at all. Just looking at this daughter board, but no particular clues. You got this cable with a lot of wires. Don't know if that's carrying the bus. Can't tell if it's directly connected to like the video output or anything. Which is the video output? I think that is this one. Okay, well perhaps not super enlightening from looking in here, but surprisingly simple machine inside. So let's just have another quick look at the condition. All the capacitors look good. I'm not seeing any like scorch marks. Lovely shiny copper and stuff over here. It's inside is actually really clean. I know this has more RAM than the standard. I think what did it say on the box? 80k of RAM and 32k of ROM. I think the basic specification might be something like 32k. So I think this is a relatively expanded version. There's a few different levels of the MSX as well. I think this is the original. So I think there was, you know, the MSX standard, which guaranteed a particular amount of you know, graphics and sound and video, probably all completely identical, right? Maybe just with different RAM and ROM. The interesting thing, of course, is what's on the ROM, because I've got no software, so I don't know if it's got BASIC or something like that. Whatever's on there is all I'm going to have when I start it up. But yeah, but this is probably, you know, later in the original MSX run, but before the MSX2 came out. So maybe it is a kind of expanded, cost-reduced machine. That's why we look inside and don't see a vast array of chips. Okay, well, all looks good. So I guess the next thing to do is to try powering up. Wait, has that even gone in the right... Oh my goodness. Okay, that was, I think, in the socket. There's kind of 2 rows. Right, that should be in the back. Right, that feels much better. Yes, that's much better. Okay. That feels a lot more positively engaged. Hopefully I didn't damage anything. Alright, so that's kind of sitting there. Oh, there was another wire under here, wasn't there? Okay, I'm going to need to check that other wire. Oh, I'm glad I remembered this one. Now, where did you plug into? Is it actually this tiny? There's a little pin here. Weird looking connector. There we go, that's all the way on. Okay, and then we have the top to put back in. maybe the ground wire first. Got to thread all these pieces together. Come on. Give me all the pieces on one screw. Right, are you in there? Yes. Okay, let's hold everything in place. Don't want to put any twisting on the wires. Yep. Okay, pop this in. Alright, we can just rest this here. Alright, got a power cable. Now this has a physical power switch on the side, which is always nice. So you should be able to plug it in complete safety. Alright, let's see if this thing has any life in it. Okay, power. There you got a power light. I'm always slightly surprised when nothing bad happens turning on 40-plus-year-old electronics. Completely independently. And quite some time ago, I picked up this weird cable. It's like the layout is an 8-pin DIN, but it's only got 5 pins, and it has kind of 2 phono jacks. I thought, that is a weird looking cable. That must be for some strange video output, and it might be for this strange video output, but I'm not completely sure. I've tried to have a look at the pinout, and I'm not sure which way round it is. Whether I'm like looking at the pinout of the plug or looking at the pinout of the socket, and so it could be backwards. But that's fine, because what I can do is plug this in and then use my multimeter to make sure that the voltages I get out look like signal level voltages, which should be kind of 0.5 volt, 1.5 volts. If they're not that, they'll be like 12 volts or 5 volts, and that would be bad. So it's hopefully going to be obvious. Let's see. Oh, okay. That's 5 volts, so this probably ain't gonna work as a video cable. That is a pity. Yeah, it's hard to tell, isn't it? But I'm sure as hell not going to connect it to any of my monitors when that's outputting 5. Okay, given that, maybe it's a good idea to try and pop out this thing at the back and see if I can use the RF connection. It's a pretty small, simple board, so fingers crossed it's going to be easy to take out. Maybe this screw. It's such a simple looking PCB. I think the weird thing is you can't see any traces. I guess they're on the back side. Okay. Wow, it's really tucked in there. Okay. Well, now while we're here, let's have a look on that back side. Oh, that looks much more like a PCB, doesn't it? And we have a little chip on the back there. I'm not sure, it's got some gunk on it. Well, I don't know, like a residue. And there's this little, I don't know if it was supposed to be using this as a heatsink or what. Still, for a full computer, this is a pretty simple circuit board, especially for such an old one. I mean, you can literally just kind of count the traces. Although actually, there are 2 layers here. There's sort of the fat ones here. Maybe these are power distribution, and there's thinner ones underneath. That's quite interesting. We can also see what was underneath this this little daughter board. What does this daughter board do? I haven't a clue. Maybe I can look up what those chip numbers are and add in a bit more information in post. Okay, next up, just the brute force of... Oh, okay, now it looks like it's going to come out easy. Maybe that was always supposed to be removable, but it's just got a bit hard over... Oh yeah, I think I felt that almost crack a little bit. Maybe it was... maybe it was rubber, and now it feels like plastic. Okay, Easy peasy. Let's put this back together and see if we can get some video output. Here is our shiny RF connector. Right, got to try and remember how to tune a television again. Good thing I have this workbench monitor. Super useful with all the different inputs. Now, what are the odds it's just tuned into whatever this is on, which I think was the Atari 800. That's the only other thing I've tuned. No such luck. This may take some time. Or not work, because who knows if this machine actually works. Well, it makes it more exciting, doesn't it? As it slowly comes in. Look at that! Okay, well, it's going to want to complete all the other channels, but I guess we don't need them, so I can probably stop. There we go, she is tuned. Well, I have no idea what I can do with this, and it's also getting a bit late in the day. Let me see. Color auto, go to list. 8 keyboard works. Okay, what does that mean? Missing operand. Okay. Color 4. Alright, more experimentation required. But she works. I have found a website that will take a .cas file with a MSX program on and turn it into sound. And my weird cable that I thought might work for video looks like it really will work for the audio, as far as I can tell. So let's try connecting everything and giving it a go. I've already typed in the command to load the thing and hit enter. Now nothing happened, maybe it just waits for the sound. But what I wanted to do was check the end of the headphone lead and just make sure it didn't show any voltage or anything before I plug it into my laptop. So that looked good. We'll see what happens. Is anything going to happen? Well, this is a little disappointing, isn't it? Alright, so if I do not have the cartridge and I do not manage to get this tape working, or the audio input at least, what other input methods do I have? Well, I've got the keyboard and I've got some printed out software, so let's see if we can make that work. This is where I notice it does not have a caps lock key. Oh, what's this button do? It's got a circle with an arrow in. Let's try that. Width. Yes, okay, that's caps lock. Note to self. Insert picture of the little key. That is the typing in. Let's do the careful checking over now to see the inevitable typos I've made. Right, these should be O's. Let's hope you can actually edit this. You can't. Uh-oh. That's doing insert. Let me press the insert key and pray. Yes. The only other time I did this was back when I was a tiny kid with my dad programming the Atari 800 XL to play, I think it's Missile Command, and well, it might have been Space Invaders or something, but like half the sprites were invisible. Amazingly it played, but there were just pieces missing off the screen. Hopefully I can do a better job this time. If x equals 0, then x equals 20. Very zen. That doesn't seem true at all, but there we go. Let's go into insert mode. So even just editing text on things this old is not straightforward. And you know, unless you're almost exactly as old as I am, you've probably never really had to use the insert key. Well, I guess maybe if you're using certain nameless Linux text editors. I need to go down to the bottom. I'm out of insert mode. And I should be able to type run 1 and have it do something. Syntax error in 1. Okay, so we should be able to type list again, I hope, and get back into the syntax error. Ooh. Well, I found the manual, and list should work. There's even a a shortcut key, which is F4. If you press F4, you get list. Now I just noticed I got a 0 there on the same line, so maybe that is the problem. And if I delete those, there we go, my program, it's back. Okay, so there's also a clear screen thing. After completing program editing, you can do Shift and Home to get everything back to blank and then start again. So Shift, Home, actually says clear right now. So if now I do list, why did you put those zeros at the top? Never mind. Right, okay, so it told me the error was in line 1. So let me read line 1 again. Or maybe I shouldn't have put that funny character in. Maybe I should just put no character there and see if that works. Alright, so we've got that. Got rid of that character. Maybe that character is something special. Okay, I go to somewhere there's nothing and I do run 1. Right, still got a syntax error in line 1. So let me check it again in case I've just got a typo. Man, this is hard, This stuff is not... You have to be so careful with these things. It's pretty tricky. Right, I've got the weird screen again, so I need to, if I clear the screen, then do F4, get my program back. Okay, let me check this. Let's try again, run 1. Ow! Let's come back again. Oh, right. Okay, this is where actually reading the manual helps, because I saw something about saying you have to press enter or it doesn't save the change. Oh no, so all those other little fixes I did where I'd missed pieces of syntax probably haven't been changed because I didn't hit enter at the end of the line. Right. Okay, I'll go back and try that again. Okay, been doing some corrections. Look, I don't even have a line 3. Line 3 disappeared. Hitting enter at the end, quite important. Fortunately, line 3 is short. So let's get it back in there. Win! Do I win? Let's see if I am in fact winning. That is the whole program entry. We hit enter to save it into memory. Of course, I've got no way of saving this program. Every time I turn this computer off, I'll have to type this back in. Oh, I've got to start my day job now. I thought like an hour and a half was enough time to type in a 3-line program and do a bit of filming. And I was wrong, and this is why these videos take so long. If you don't have loads of time, how can you be sure you are going to finish? Okay, well we can see we've saved our changes this time. So let's do one more reading and see if I can spot what's wrong, and then I'm going to have to give up for the day. And I can't just leave the computer on forever, so maybe I have to turn it off and lose everything? Alright, I don't spot anything wrong. Let's just try that again. Seems like it probably fails as soon as it prints that top thing, right? That character, there after the quotes may well have been an escape character, right? We can do a simple test, can't we? Get rid of our round scoring or level counter thing. That is not the problem. I am missing something, or there's a problem with the program itself. Gonna have to stop there. Alright, another day, another program. So I've typed in this one called Wolves, and after a little bit of troubleshooting, I do have a program that runs. So we can go list 1, run 1, run the program. Okay, we've got like a play field. And what I can do in this game is lose. So I'm one of these O's. Why are there 3 O's? I don't know. I can go right and left, which moves me through this sort of diagonal playfield. If I get to the X, which is moving against me, nothing happens. I don't know if I'm supposed to try and kill it, and that's buggy, or maybe I'm supposed to reach to the side of the playfield. Now, if I exit the playfield there, in one of those 2 first columns, the computer wins. But if I play again, so the other thing I can do is just go all the way to the other side. Does he always go the same way? If I go down here, okay, now I'm stuck. So what does that mean? Presumably I still have some bug. But hey, it's a running program. You know, the computer works. It would be good to have cooler software, right? Now, I remembered that one of the things I used to do in programming class on like 486s and stuff was generate star fields. And I thought, you know, maybe that will be simpler than a game. Maybe I can find a bit of basic in here to do a star field, and I'll try that out. And now look at this compared to the other program. I just assumed, you know, that was how you wrote in BASIC on an MSX. A few lines, very long, no spaces, you know, really difficult to read, no comments or anything. Now, in the code I'm writing from, it's got comments. Looks like you can use a semicolon to put a comment. And look, we've got lots of lines, everything spread out. Now when I get the error, and this is also cool, right? I can still see the error after listing the program. Not sure if that's like a deliberate feature or just the way this is worked out with not clearing the screen, but quite handy. So now we can go to 230 and see what I typed wrong. Yeah, I seem to have typed that correctly. There just is something wrong with that statement. This isn't doing anything. This doesn't assign anything. Because if I wanted to add 1 to b%, it would be b equals b% plus 1. I wonder if that bit's wrong. So, b% plus 1, that's not right. Let's try b% equals. That's definitely going to be more satisfying, right, if I have to write a little bit of the program by myself instead of just typing. Okay, so let's save this line. This is the tricky thing to remember. Always go and press enter on the line you edited. Run 10. Come on, please. Okay. Right. Well, we have a running program. The stars are kind of just wibbling about instead of moving in an expected way. So, probably the calculation I put in is wrong, but the program works. That's pretty good, right? I identified a bug in someone else's code in MSX Basic, which I know nothing about. So I'm reasonably happy with that. So it was supposed to be b% equals b% plus 1. And yeah, so we tried that. I mean, it makes some stars. They don't kind of smoothly scroll or come out of the screen. But that's the difference between, I guess, a what's this, a Z80 CPU and a 486, which, let's face it, is about 1 billion times faster. I wonder if there's other interesting things we could do. You can now see what's happening when the letters disappear. It's drawing these columns, and I've changed them to all white. Like, I'm not completely... Somehow the number represents the thickness of the column, which doesn't entirely make sense to me with that poke thing. Like... yeah, this is just the joys of having no idea what you're doing, I guess. But if you set it to like 5, you get a bunch of thin lines going across. So it's still mostly blue, but thin white lines come across. And if you set it to 255, you've got ones that are the whole way across. I guess this is the thickness of a character column or something. And I think the reason why, like, 23 often seems to show up is, there's probably 23 columns here. Oh, here's a thing. What if I change the 4 thing? I hope it's interesting to watch me just learning BASIC before your eyes stupidly instead of just reading instructions. But I suppose for me this is a good way to learn. Oh, what have I? I've made a building. Okay, so maybe the 8 by 23 represents a block of pixels it's drawing. Well, let's change the 8 and see what happens. Okay, so if I make this like 10, 4 and 10 say, a big change. Ooh, right, these are characters. What have I made it do? Why does changing a loop change the characters it prints? How many different characters am I printing? It's not at random, right? They're repeating in a sequence. So what did this initial thing do? Was this just clearing the screen? I removed some unnecessary maths, and I think it's going way faster. Not even sure if you can see the stars on this screen. There we go, now we're closer. You should probably be able to see the dots. I can just about make them out on the phone screen. So they're going way faster than before. I'll show you what I took out. These, there was 2 places where it was doing like 23 times 8. But why do that? It's a fixed value, right? So I've just written in 184 in 2 places. And you know, this is the loop that moves it. 240 to 200 is where it goes round and round. That seems to have made it go way faster. I got fed up with trying to work out other people's programs, so I just made my own. Now we're in bitmap mode, and I've just been experimenting with kind of the most basic command. So I've got it cycling through the background colors here. If I show the program, I've actually still got all the rest of the old program. My new program is just these lines. So it like sets up some values for the color, sets screen mode 3. So the only value we're going to change is the background color, which is this middle one, Y. So then it sets the color and does a clear screen to like reset the screen to actually display what we've changed it to. Then it adds 1 to the background color, so moves to the next color. And then it just checks if it needs to loop. There's only 16 colors, so like if the value gets up to 15, we need to go back to 0, or we'll, I don't know, explode. And then it slows it down because it was just like a flickering, you know, super fast, changing many times per second. I don't want to give everyone epilepsy, and you can't see what's happening. So then I've also figured out how to do weighting, which I was quite pleased with. You have this special value called time, which just it's a value that just gets incremented for one like screen refresh, basically. So it's just like some number, like 1,300, and then once it's refreshed the screen once, it's 1,301. So you can basically have a loop that says, you know, from the current value to the current value plus 300, we're going to do something, which is like, we just set I to 0 over and over again. Just keeps doing that until we've done 300 ticks. Then it moves on, loops back to 310, sets a new color, cycles through. So I'm kind of happy with that. And I can have a look at how do I maybe draw a line or something. I've got quite into this, to be honest. This has taken up a whole evening with messing with other people's programs, but I'm kind of feeling much happier just making my own. Busted out some new tools in my basic programming quest. I have this MSX pen site, which lets me, just quickly develop in a web page. And I found a reference book called the MSX Basic Guide by JVC, which is actually really good. It seems like you can just draw circles and lines and things, and the computer will handle it for you. So I've been working on, doing this kind of pattern where it will just go around the screen. I didn't really understand that it wouldn't delete the the old lines, so it just slowly fills up the screen. But this is like a good basic. So let's see if I can get it to do something slightly more interesting. I'm thinking there probably is some built-in way of kind of looping around the screen or some way of automatically doing that, right? Because keeping track of it all manually without like good functions and stuff like that is hard. So I've skipped that and I've got it to draw a pretty line with like the cosine function. So that's cool. And now I might have a bit of a play with circles or something. And then I think that'll have scratched my itch. It's quite fun getting into this. It really brings back that kind of oh, I have a computer but no software. What am I going to do with it? feeling. The feeling of being bored, which is, there's always something to play with these days. Um, Something to download, something on the web to read. It really used to just be, it could be like you and a manual and a computer. And it's really got that feeling, I guess, and I've got stuck into it for some reason. Right, one more bit of playing. Got a final version in now. So just draws some expanding circles and then gives us a nice curve with our cosine function. Interesting, you can see a kind of it clearly doesn't like store the whole screen, and the white of the line affects the old lines. I'm not sure, must be some sort of optimization it's doing to use less RAM, right? It's not really a bitmap. But yeah, there we go. I can try that out on the real machine now. And here's the final result running on the real MSX. Drawing our series of circles and just tracing out that cosine. So here we can see what it's doing. It's got to 10, well there we go, 12, 13 or so. See, it speeds up when it stops having to do the circles as well. And yeah, it's just moving across the screen one pixel at a time and figuring out how high up this dot should be, basically. And traces across. And that's that program. And we can wrap up there. Had a good time with the MSX. Interesting to get that experience of what might you've done with the machine back in the day and writing some basic. Not something I've done with any of the other machines. I hope you've enjoyed this brief look at what is really a whole ecosystem of machines. And as always, stay safe out there and good luck with all your own projects.